Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business Exclusives, getting to the soul of business. A limited series where I really enjoy getting a little deeper than my typical Think Business lives every day, where we really are focused more just on business for that, business person. And I'm looking forward to talking with two of you, Andy and Kim Baligian. Welcome and thank you for taking time to talk to me. You guys own Midwest Gutter Cleaning, which we're going to get into the business and things of that nature. But you also are part of and started a nonprofit in the city of Detroit. I'm from Detroit. You guys are in Detroit. So anytime I can give a spotlight of something that's pretty special going on in our city, my city, etc., I always like to. You guys started Serve the City. Serve the City is a global movement of volunteers showing kindness in personal ways to people in need. We partner with homeless shelters, refugee centers, orphanages, and other associations offering help and support. And so before we even really get into, this nonprofit, Serve the City International, I really want to kind of talk about the two of you, because I think you have to have special DNA to not just have the idea to do something like this and to build something like this, but to actually execute on it, because this is soul work, right? This isn't your typical work. And so to me, it's a deeper level of consciousness. It's a higher level of frequency and vibration of true serving of people. And so I really want to start kind of rewinding a little bit. Each of you, and Kim, maybe we can start with you. Take me to a time from before you were 10 years old of something that was planted in you from a mentor or a situation that even began this journey of your consciousness.
That's good. I mean, I have parents who always, I feel like, helped people, and grandparents too. Like my grandpa was the one who'd always come over and shovel our driveways, take care of our family. But I remember as a 10-year-old, actually, like about 10, was a group of friends I had at school, and we started this club called the Helping Hands Club. And we went to the senior citizen retirement home and made cards. And we handed out these cards to these elderly people. And there's this one lady that I remember we visited, and we'd go back like weekly and just go and talk to her and say hi. But that's one of my first memories of really kind of serving and thinking about others. And yeah.
But when you said hi to her, I want to know what it did for you. And I want to know what your perception was of what it did for her.
For me, I think it just made me feel good that I was helping someone else. And for her, I could see that she was lit up, like someone, I think so many times, especially like the seniors who are living in nursing homes, they're kind of forgotten about. And for kids, especially, to come in who they don't get contact with kids much. That is something that's life-giving for seniors. Yeah. So to see these kids come here and saying, hi, like we made you these cards and we want you to have a great day.
Yeah.
I could see it lit her up, and she had a big smile, and she was just a very friendly soul. Yeah. And me and my best friend, Kara, would go which is a different time because my parents didn't go with me.
But wait, Andy, we'll get to you in a minute. I just want to kind of talk a little bit more about this because, Kim, one of the things you're talking about is people who are forgotten about. And a lot of the foundation of Serve the City is really helping people that I think a lot of people forget about, right? There is, the name's escaping me. What's the nonprofit where they turn jackets into sleeping bags? Veronica, the Empowerment Plan.
Yeah.
And I interviewed Veronica on, I can't think of her last name off the top of my head, but I interviewed her on the show, and they give these jackets that turn into sleeping bags to homeless people.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we talked about was how she at one point was homeless, but the importance of homeless, the obstacle is when people give to homeless people, sometimes they don't look them in the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're giving, but they miss the element of dignity to the person who's actually receiving, right? So making that person feel like less than. And I think, and I don't think that that's uncommon. I know when she said that, it hit a nerve with me, because to somebody who does give to homeless people, when I see them on the side, I sometimes realize I didn't look them in the eye.
Yeah.
And because I was thinking I didn't want to, I don't know why. We don't need to get into all those reasons, but I have ever since, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what was the seed, as you're saying, these people are forgotten about, that drove you to kind of create this nonprofit of many people who get forgotten about?
Yeah, I think that I've always loved people, and that's something from a young age. I knew I wanted to help people. And so for me, it's like, I think we need to look to those marginalized groups of people. I think it's easy. I grew up in the church too, and I think sometimes the church doesn't always remember them well, or people I know. And that was something like, we need to do better at that. And that's something I want to do better at in my own life.
Right.
I feel like I've lived 35 years, maybe not serving the poor enough or doing things like that. And I want to take the next, amount of my life and do that.
Yeah. And I know, there's so many choices. There's so many things we need to do. I mean, even as I hear you say that, I also know you guys have 6 kids.
Yeah.
Right. And so, right. There's so many things pulling. And so it's like, where do you find the time, and how does the universe guide you to help find the time?
Well, I think one of the things that we thought about as we raised our 6 kids, we thought of the importance of teaching them about others and about the world that we live in, and really shaped by our faith and shaped by our experiences, we find that there's so much life in giving yourself away, and that we were made for community and we were made for relationship. And I think in our world, we're growing increasingly isolated, and we can't be real with each other, and we can't be open with our struggles and our own humanity, and it continually isolates us. And we just want to be a part of that mess, and we want our kids to be a part of that mess. We think there's life and goodness that flows from giving up yourself to help others. And so our kids were actually the catalyst for us really getting this thing started in many ways, because we wanted to live a life where we just weren't talking about it.
Yeah.
We were
doing it with us. Yeah, doing it with us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And try to make our serve events kind of friendly, family friendly, where some of them kids can't, but a lot of them where kids can come to. Like, it can be something you could do as a family.
Absolutely.
So that you can get them involved and see the importance, and seeing, like you said, seeing the marginalized, they are people just like us.
Right.
And we may have different needs, and their needs may be showing, but we all have needs in life.
Yeah, we all do. I many years ago, the shul that I belonged to, I, along with another guy, co-chaired a homeless shelter that we did at our shul. And it was the first time we had ever done that. And there was a lot of fear and a lot of people who didn't want it done. Right. And I'm not judging the fear of it. Right. For different elements, people have different, but we ultimately did it. And as one of the co-chairs, I was there every day for 2 weeks. And I had my own idea of what the people would be. And through the 2 weeks, I got to know them. And I realized exactly what you just said. This was about, I think, I don't know. I can tell you, because it was like my son's going to be 19. So this was about 15, 16 years ago. And as I got to know them, I realized they really are just like you and me. And everybody is 1 to 2 potential horrible things away from being homeless if you don't have the resources behind you. God forbid you're in that situation. And so it's much easier. And they were people, they were bankers. They were successful people who just fell on bad luck. And so I agree with you. It's I've never forgotten that in the last, 15, 16 years. Andy, let's go to you. Thank you for that, Kim. And we'll continue this conversation. But, take us back now to the same place that Kim went to. And what was some of that, foundation, those fundamentals, those experiences that kind of planted this seed that the two of you now are building with, it sounds like, the bright light of your children. But what was your, initial seed?
Yeah, I would say my initial seed, my dad was a police officer. My mom was a parapro that worked with handicapped people.
Oh, wow.
And my mom just has an incredible heart. She is just full of compassion and selflessness. And I remember my mom would open up our home to her students on holidays, students that didn't have family or for whatever weren't able to engage in certain traditions that we were able to engage in, and meals and things. And I remember at the time feeling really uncomfortable in some ways, if I were to be honest with you, with my brothers, but really seeing my mom's heart, I think began to shape my heart to think about others and to give of myself, to connect, to love, to serve, as messy as that is. And then along with that, my dad was a police officer who served for many, many years in West Bloomfield and in the city of Detroit. And there's a lot of becoming involved in being a police officer that involves serving and helping others and protecting. And he would come home with stories. So we kind of grew up in that environment where our parents modeled really well for us. But it really was my mom, to the point where she would just welcome anyone into our home. She modeled hospitality and compassion as good as anyone that I know. And so I think that heart of hers became a part of our hearts as her kids. And we grew up with that same compassion for others. And so I'm really thankful for my parents.
Yeah. Your parents, everybody that you're talking about so far sounds like great people. And thank you to them and their hearts and their service. Let's talk about the messy part of growing this. I say that because you've used the word messy. So I'm just kind of, you're saying like, hey, we're just kind of jumping into this mess and we're going to do X, Y, and Z. And so when you're doing that, as you're articulating, how do you jump in and give it some structure, right? How have you guys done that?
Yeah, well, so much of the structure in what we do and the focus of what we do has come through us, through the organization, the movement that we're a part of. Serve the City International is in 133 different cities across the globe. And the training and onboarding that we received. I mean, I was a chaplain for the Plymouth Whalers for several years. So I grew up kind of serving people at a spiritual level and being available to anyone who needed it. But the organization that we part of really gave us the handlebars, the training that we needed to really just step in. We were in cohorts with people all across Europe who have started
the world,
India and Europe, and who have started these volunteer movements in their city. And to hear stories, to share ideas. I was inspired by a gentleman who started Serve the City in France, and the stories and the mess of going into some of the hardest homeless communities where there's a lot of instability, mental and emotional. You're dealing with people who are hurting on many, many levels, and trying to navigate that and make yourself vulnerable to offer coffee and food and support. He put himself in some positions that were really hard, but that's just part of the mess, right? That's the calling to come in our own brokenness and awareness of we need help and we're broken, but we're fellow humans and we want to come and help as best as we can and make that relational connection. For me, it's all about relationship. It's all about community and being able to have those relationships, authentic relationships with people.
Yeah.
And so we don't have it all together. We've got our own brokenness. And so we simply just want to put ourselves out there to be in relationship with people, to love people, to serve them. And so
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. Yeah. So the organization that we are a part of, it really helped give the handlebars, the DNA.
Right.
The culture.
I want to pause before we talk about the handlebars that they give, because I want to talk about the power of relationships, you know, and many people when especially when we talk in business about relationships, and I talk to clients about this all the time. And so they'll, for example, if I'm working, you know, I work with solopreneurs to Fortune 100 companies and everything in between. And I work from the C-level to the salesperson and everything in between, all over the world. And I don't say that to impress, just to impress upon the following. When I'm talking to a majority of, for example, salespeople, they will, you know, say, hey, I'm making calls and I'm asking for a meeting and I'm asking for business and I'm not getting anywhere. And one of the things I always guide them to is, if you're going to ask them for something, give them something first. And I think we're so wired to ask that relationships become one-sided. But in the relationships you're talking about, you're giving, but you're not really asking for much in return. And I think sometimes that takes a pause for people, because you're talking about building relationships where you are giving of your hearts, not expecting them to give you a deal or et cetera, et cetera. Right. So I just want to kind of fall into that for a minute and talk about, you know, where both of your souls kind of connect with that and what that means to raise a level of consciousness for the listener.
Yeah. So, I mean, I come from a faith background. In my worldview, you know, we were made in God's image. And so I think there's something about being made in God's image that when we serve others that are in that place, we call it, and serve the city, that it awakens the imago Dei. It awakens the image of God. It helps us come to life, as it were, because we believe we weren't designed to be self-focused, the focus to always be on us. I think there's a part of our Maker's stamp on us, his design, that when we give of ourselves, when we do that, there's something life-giving. There's something that awakens who we were meant to be, that fulfills. Yeah. And I don't even think we do it for that, but I think there is a part of that that's just wonderful to model and teach our kids, and to try to mobilize as many other people as we can to say, hey, begin to tap into that, because we can help each other as humans in this way. And we were designed to do it. There's something beautiful about that, not having to receive something in return, but we are given something in return. There's something beautiful that's awakened. But it is messy and beautiful at the same time. Because relationships are hard, humanity's complex. The challenges that people face are way beyond what we can sometimes offer. So we just offer a listening ear, a cup of coffee, friendship, love, whatever we can to people that are in need. We want to show kindness to them in personal ways. We want to know their names. We want to know their story. And we want to see them come to thrive and be all that they were created to be, and help in any way that we can. So
I love it.
I think I would be friends with just about anyone.
Yeah.
So it's not hard for me. Like, I love meeting people. I love.
She's the extrovert. I'm the introvert.
But I love meeting people. I love finding out about them. What do they like? Who, you know, their family. What's their story? I'm the person probably some people don't want to sit next to on the plane, right? I'm not that person. But so for me, it's so easy to jump in relationships with people because it's just so natural, you know. Yeah. And that brings me so much joy of just like connecting with people and finding about who they are, and, you know, just how we're all different in so many ways. So
yeah.
It's beautiful.
It is.
Yeah. Talk about the power of touch and a hug, and the fear that people have when they are, you know, being of service, but, you know, feeling like maybe they want to give, but they don't want to get close. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's.
You understand what I'm saying? I mean, whether it's fear of, you know, whatever the fear is.
Sometimes, right.
Yeah. I think it takes steps. I think we as, you know, almost there's a process that involves as we continue to get to know people. But what were you going to say?
Oh, I just think it takes time. I think sometimes maybe your first step is just giving food to a food drive. Maybe that's your first step before actually, like different people are different and enter on this path at different times and points in their lives.
We've had people that as soon as we walk through the door, they give a hug. We've had people that we've seen for a while that just give the vibes like, hey, I'm not ready for that. For whatever reason. And so we try to be discerning, but I think there is something about that, even just the touch of a hand, of a handshake, of putting your arm around somebody. Again, it's part of the relational element, I think.
And it helps that our nonprofit, we partner with different nonprofits who are in the city and have really strong relationships sometimes. So we come in and help them. So they have great relationships. So we come along with them. And so we're with them included in that. And
we
our
lift
volunteers.
them up. Yeah, we lift them up.
So like we'll go to people's house that maybe I've never met, but they'll be giving our friends a hug, and they'll come give us a hug too. Like, thank you so much for these Easter baskets for my kids. Things like that, where I think, and seeing our volunteers who've come with us, and that it's great to see that journey, because some of them, it is their first time doing something like that too.
Yeah, I love it. So tell us a little bit, go into a little bit more detail about Serve the City, exactly what you do, what the organization does, and how people can be, part of it.
Yeah, so Serve the City, like I mentioned, is kind of a part of a global movement of volunteers who we seek to show kindness in personal ways to those in need. As you mentioned at the beginning, we do focus, on 6 different, people of need, from handicapped to asylum seekers to the elderly to children in need. And Serve the City Detroit, the beauty about Serve the City International is sometimes it takes different shape in different urban contexts. We wanted to leverage and use our network and mobilize our network and influence of just being born and raised in the city of Detroit, and mobilize our friends, people that own businesses, neighbors, to say, hey, come on, let's just serve other people. Let's take the time that we have to give of ourselves to help lift other people up. And so we basically Kim started in 2020, and we have several key partners that we work with in the city. And again, our heart is to lift them up and to empower them, to equip them, to resource them. And we do monthly serve projects. So we partnered with schools in the city of Detroit, giving pies to teachers on Pie Day, 300 baskets of candy for kids in the city of Detroit. We've done urban gardening. We've done Christmas boxes. We've helped renovate the inside of a building used to tutor kids within the city. I mean, we've just done a whole lot of different things. And again, part of my passion and Kim's passion as well is to mobilize, to be a catalyst, because we know that there's a lot of people that want to do good. And so part of what we do is kind of close the gap between I have good intentions, but I don't know actually how to put them into practice to use.
Yeah.
We say, well, we do. We did the hard work. We found some great partners, people that are doing great work in the city, and we can connect you with volunteer opportunities to be involved and to help people that are in need.
I love it.
And so that's a little bit about who we are.
I love it. Let's talk about now being a conscious capitalist. Here you are doing these, beautifully conscious, uplifting, serving, but you also own a business where, you want to make money. And I'm a big fan of doing both, right? I think the conscious capitalist, being a conscious capitalist, you can be very conscious and still make a lot of money, because the more money you make, the more people you can help.
Yes.
Right. And so how do you put your conscious views into your capitalist views as you started, build, and grow your business, Midwest Gutter Cleaning?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think from the very start, we don't want there to be any inconsistencies, right? We want to live out of who we are, our views. And so for us, it starts with, trying to do the best we can and offer the best possible work environment for our employees. Like that's really, really important to us. And so creating a set of values that we hold each other to, that we try to live by as a company, as well as you see on the screen there, really trying to create a company that's socially responsible. We experienced a little bit of that when we lived in Ireland and just saw how so many companies in Europe back in 2009, 2008, they were giving their employees paid time to go and help and do things in the community. And I remember, I don't know where I was. I'm not a business guy. I didn't grow up in the business world, but I just remember seeing that, saying, wow, like if I ever own a business, that's awesome. I want to try and do some of those things, or, use my leverage as a business owner to help others. And so, I think that's the goal. I think we really want to try and create an environment that we treat our employees really well. We want to love them well. We want to treat them like, really team members, or be a healthy team, create a healthy culture. And then we really want to try to leverage our opportunities. So we've done tons of things where we've encountered widows and single moms and just people that have been in a hard situation, cancer patients, where we help. We find a need and we help. And so I don't want to kind of create two different worlds. I want those worlds to
be one.
To align. We're not always perfect. We're human as well, but as best as we can, we want them to align. That's a great word for it. And we want there to be consistency. And so, but for me personally, it starts with really trying to treat my employees well, build a good, healthy team. And then from there, I think we'll build a healthy organization, healthy culture, which will then be able to recognize needs when we encounter them and meet them as we go. And so it starts with our team.
I read a book about 25 years ago called The Seat of the Soul by Gary Zhukov. And one of the lines that really helped me evolve was, in the book, he talks about that the ideal human is when the personality ends and the soul begins and you can't tell. Right. That's kind of the ideal. And it really kind of woke me up in a lot of ways. So I love what you're talking about, because I think a lot of times people have difficulty kind of putting their spiritual and their universal beliefs in their business, right? It's kind of a switch goes off. And so to that person, to those people, to those companies, what type of advice do you give them to infuse that EQ, that SQ into the threads of their culture and their business?
That's a great question. I just think it's, live by the mantra that it's not all about you, and be very, very careful. Greed is a very real
stinky cologne. It's a smelly cologne.
Exactly. Right. And I think you've got to watch it. I think it can infiltrate who you are as a person. I think it can infiltrate your culture. And you just got to be mindful of that. And I think having accountability and a network of support of people who are committed to living the same way, open-handedly, really helps. When you isolate, and you're not a part of a network and you're not being coached, it's so easy to turn inward and let greed become something that you maybe never wanted to take over your life, but it ends up taking over your life. Right. And you end up regretting some things down the road. But so, I think you got to watch out for greed. You got to live open-handedly. And for me, it's just being in relationship and network with other business leaders, other friends who can remind me what it's really all about, because sometimes I forget, or sometimes, so I think that's important.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Let's talk about how you balance business, serve the city and your family, right? I think everybody's trying to figure out, what does the word balance mean? Is it even a word that should exist? I don't know. I don't know if there's such a thing fully, if we can have moments of balance, et cetera, so how do you juggle it all?
Yeah, a couple of things for me that have really helped in coaching relationships that I have been in. To me, closing the gap between good intentions and healthy practices is mastered on the calendar. So for me, it's not like I live and die by the calendar, but I live by the calendar. Like I'm very task oriented. I'm very intentional, and I've learned this from you as well, and being part of your coaching relationship with you. That you've got to be. You have to be. You got to be intentional with your time. And you got to live by the calendar. So closing the gap between good intentions and healthy practices for me is the calendar. Yeah. The second thing that I think that's helped me is really trying to integrate things in some ways, and not being so siloed, And so if I, for example, have an estimate that I need to do and I can't send one of my workers there, I'm going to put my 3 kids in the back seat. Yeah. And I'm going to bring them along with me. And we're gonna, listen to Disney soundtrack on the way, and they don't know necessarily all the time that I'm looking at apartment complexes and trying to do estimates. They're just having fun with their dad. Yeah. And so I think when you have a lot on your plate, you've got to close the gap between good intentions, healthy practice, but the calendar, and you've got to learn how to integrate. And I'm thankful as a business owner, I have the freedom to do that. I realize not everybody has the freedom to take their kids to work. And I can't take them to work when I'm up on a roof. No, but totally. You better. I think in certain situations I can, and I think integration is real, and we take them serving with us. Yeah. And so it's not like we're getting a babysitter and we've got all these different silos. No, we bring them with us.
Well, sometimes we get a babysitter.
Sometimes.
But the 3-year-old can't always come.
That's right. Yeah. Kim, how about you?
Yeah, I'm in school right now for going back for teaching. So I'm my side of the business. I don't do as much with that. That's more Andy. Originally, we started it. I was doing all the admin work, but since then it's grown so much. We've hired and handed that off. So that's been nice for me, where I'm kind of focusing on something that I've always wanted to do. So I'm going back for teaching. So for me, trying to find that balance between that, serve the city, our kids. I usually get a lot of things done at night, and I'm a late night person. So I stay up late. I go when they go to bed. That's when I'm writing my essays. I don't know. It's not going to be like that forever. My younger kids, especially I have older kids, it's easier to do things, but our younger kids need us, more. So when they go to bed, it's kind of just a good time for me to be able to get things done and get, like he said, things on our calendar or figure things out, what's going on. So that is my
you have to be strategic. You have to say no to things. Yeah. You get into a world where you say yes to everything, right? Yeah. You have to say no. So you have to know what your goals are, things like that. I think those are all things that are helpful, but it's messy. I mean, even trying to figure all that out. Balance is really hard. I think everybody can relate to that. So
there's times you're really tired.
It's I know, right? You're way out of balance, and you're like, okay, I've got to recalibrate. Right. I've got to get things back in a healthy place, and so it's always an interesting process.
Yeah. Recalibrating is really important. I do want to talk about this because I think it's always interesting when I talk to, as a business coach, I do work with a lot of family businesses. And I always, am asking them, and I'm going to ask you, what's the secret to working together as a couple?
Yeah, well, thankfully, we didn't have to experience that too long.
Communication. I think is key in being open and honest with each other and having forgiveness and saying living
by our values.
Those are
right. Yeah,
because sometimes we're very different in how we're wired. Andy is way more task oriented than I would, so he'd be like, "Hey, you getting on these tasks?" And I'd be like, "I got it."
And she's more relational. She knows how to value what's in the moment, which is the person in the moment you're talking to. And I'm more concerned about getting the things checked off my list. So I'm thankful that we are a good balance for each other. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. She has such wonderful gifts.
And doing Serve the City, it's been good because he's been able to come along that side of some of the more organizational aspects and create some of those things. And I've come alongside with more of the relational aspects with our partners and just meeting people and helping even plan things and taking it that way. So it works.
Dream work, teamwork.
Yeah. Teamwork makes the dream work. Let me ask you this. Last couple questions I have for you. You know, when it comes to serve the city, Kim, you first. What is one thing you've learned from the people that you serve?
Yeah, I think going back to that, you know, we're all human. That's one of the things I've learned, is that there's so much contentment and even sometimes even not having a lot, or people who have needs. You know, there's different struggles, but you see the humanness of them.
Yeah.
And that's something I've learned is, like we all have different needs, but we're all human in the end.
Yeah. Do you think that there is a fear that people have to become the people they're helping? And that's what may hold people back from serving more?
I think there's a lot of judgment.
Yeah.
Sometimes too. I think there's a lot of judgment on people who they serve, like judgment of they've made these choices or they don't have, you know, like judgment of how people live.
There's a lot of fear.
And
how do you, I just want to, you know, and so what's your advice on that? Because I agree with you. I've had my own judgments in the experience I shared with you earlier. I was, you know, awakened by talking and meeting with these people, realizing, you know, you're 1-2 steps away. But how, I think, you know, ending our talk today a little bit on how to shape the mindset of the person who really wants to serve and how they can get rid of their judgments and just be conscious, present, and serve.
I think, and then I'll let you share. I mean, my initial thought is to do what you did. I think we said, come and be a part. Just come and, you know, you don't have to. You sit down with someone and right away, but just come to one of our volunteer opportunities or any volunteer opportunity. There's tons of volunteer opportunities in great organizations in the area doing wonderful things. But like you did, you took that step and it opened up a wonderful thing for you. And I think if people just would take that step, we're not going to push them into uncomfortable situations. Right. We'll guide them through the process, but take that step and see how it goes. And sometimes people are really glad that they did.
And being aware, I may be coming into this situation with judgments or biases. Like if you're aware that I may have biases, that's a good step too.
Self-awareness.
Yeah. Right. And even if it's an unconscious bias or any type of bias, you know, as we're sitting here talking, I'm thinking, do you guys watch Ted Lasso at all?
Yeah.
No. My camera's just getting a little fuzzy right now. I don't know why. But, you know, one of the things that they talk about with Ted Lasso is, hold on, I'm just changing my camera a little bit so it goes. One of the things with Ted Lasso is, you know, be curious, not judgmental. And so I'll take that a step further, you know, is I think, and I'm including myself in this, you know, walking into these situations with just no judgment, with just no judgment. And, you know, I belong to I sit on the board of a nonprofit, Hebrew Free Loan, and we give interest-free loans to people in the Jewish community. It's a national, you know, they're in cities all over the world. It's a 120-year-old nonprofit. And one of the things we do before we meet with the people, or Zoom now that, you know, or conference call now that COVID has hit, is we have a meeting about all of them to kind of go over their situation and kind of dilute the judgments. Right. And so I think it's so important to do our best to go in judgment free. Well, I think it's Planet Fitness. Isn't Planet Fitness like no judgments, right?
No judgment zone. Yeah.
No judgment zone, right? I think if we could all raise our consciousness, and sounds like the two of you are pretty there, but I think for the majority, if we can all raise our no judgment zone, I think it would be so much easier to kind of for us and for the people receiving.
Yes. Yeah. Good word.
Yeah.
Good word.
Yeah. Tell me this. What's next for Serve the City, Kim?
Well, keep doing your monthly serve. I think the hardest thing has been COVID, really like limiting sometimes, you know, our volunteer numbers or what we're doing. last year was a bit of a challenge trying to, if we're inside, are people comfortable, not all those things, make sure, just making sure we're having the safety protocols in place. So I think just keep building our volunteer community. I'd love to see that. And this year, maybe even some of the things we've planned and had, like, that's one of the beautiful things we love about it is it brings people together. And once you serve with someone, there's just this relationship that happens there too. It's not only the relationship with the people that you're serving, the people that you're serving with, that you get to build these great friendships with.
Yeah. I mean, she started Serve the City right when the global pandemic started.
Yeah. I see.
Amazing. Good for you.
2020.
And you know what's interesting though, is that our original vision for Serve the City is that the volunteer community would become stronger in relationally with each other, because we're meeting so many people, no matter where they're living, who are lonely, who are isolated, volunteers and the people that we serve. And so,
well, and that's one thing is with Serve the City I love too, is we want to invite the people we serve to come serve with us.
Absolutely.
Like we want you to be a part of our serving community too.
Yeah. Let's all give back. And so in January, we're doing a winter clothing drive. We're trying to get as many new clothes, coats and warms and hats and scarves, and for kids in the city, and for, we're partnering with All Worthy of Love, which works with women on the street. And we just want to get them warm. We want to get them everything they need to stay warm. It's bitterly cold outside. And in February, we're trying to mobilize several elementary schools to create Valentine's Day cards for senior shut-ins. Last year, we did
I love it.
50 seniors, and just, seniors love that stuff. They love kids. And so with pictures of the kids in the cards, and they'd write a little love note for the seniors. And, we really care about the elderly as well. And we want to show them our love. So we've got some good things planned, and we want to strengthen our volunteer.
I think that'll be a great opportunities for us to have, like I said, barbecues with our volunteer community and things like that as well. So I think the year ahead looks good, and we're excited.
Yeah, it does.
How can people connect with you and learn more about Serve the City?
Yeah, my email is kim@servethecity.com, or on Facebook.
Serve the City Detroit.
Oh, Serve the City Detroit. Yeah,
sorry.
Serve the City Detroit. Glad you just said that. So, or on Facebook, we have our Facebook page, and they can even join then.
Social media.
They can join our volunteer page as well if they want. We have another page on there, so they could just shoot me a message and say, "Hey, I'd like to get more involved."
Yep.
Good. I love it. Well, and then Andy, how can people connect with you on Midwest?
Yeah, so midwestguttercleaning.com. We'd love to help keep your house from water damage. Andy at midwestguttercleaning.com. But really the best thing to do is go on our website, the contact form there. It has all the information that we need from you in order to help, whatever needs you have related to your gutters.
I love it.
We'd love to do that.
Last couple questions, guys. Finish this sentence. One thing everybody can do to get inside of their heart and give a little bit more is?
Let me go. Okay.
Go.
I think by small acts of kindness. Small acts of kindness.
Good. I love it.
Yeah, for me, it's by opening up and pursuing relationship with others. I think that's critical. Taking one step. Towards something.
Yeah, I love that. And the last question, one thing everybody can do to get their mindset in a no judgment zone is, Andy?
I thought you were going to ask Kim first. I think empathy it can and listening is a good thing. Is just being open to listen and empathy, trying to put yourself in other people's shoes. It can really help in that process.
I think just looking at everybody as a human, like we're all human beings, we all have needs, we all have struggles. And so if we see people in that light, I think it makes people relatable.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I can't thank you guys enough. I've loved watching the press, the well-deserved and amazing press that Serve the City has been getting in Detroit. I always, love hearing about Midwest Gutter as well, and the great reputation that both the company and the organization have. You two are special spirits, and you're doing amazing, beautiful work. And to have two people who are always reminding other people that, hey, we're all human, we all have our struggles, kind of step into it, one step at a time. Continue to serve and do the beautiful work that you're doing from your hearts. I think it's contagious, and it just has a ripple effect of just complete goodness. So appreciate you guys being on with me today and the Think community. And again, for all of you who want to learn more, servethecity.net, right, is the Serve the City.
Yep.
And
for the international. Yep.
Serve the City
International. And what's the Detroit website?
ServeTheCityDetroit.com is our website.
ServeTheCityDetroit.com and MidwestGutterCleaning.com. Want to thank the two of you. Thanks, Andy, Kim. You guys are great. Appreciate all the work you're doing. Thanks for being great human beings, making better human beings. Thanks, guys.
Likewise, John. Thank you so much.